What if everything you've been taught about evil is a lie? What if the darkness you fear most is actually the universe's most sophisticated tool for awakening your divine potential? What if suffering, chaos, and destruction are not cosmic mistakes, but carefully orchestrated initiations designed to catapult consciousness beyond its current limitations? What I'm about to reveal was hidden in the deepest vaults of ancient mystery schools for over 4,000 years. This knowledge was so dangerous to established power structures that its keepers were hunted, their libraries burned, their teachings branded as heretical. But the veil between worlds is dissolving, and these sacred secrets are finally emerging from the shadows. The ancient Egyptian mystery schools, operating in temples that modern archaeology has never fully penetrated, taught their highest initiates a truth that would shatter everything you think you know about good and evil. They understood that what we call darkness is not the absence of light, but light in a form so advanced that unawakened consciousness perceives it as its opposite. Think about this for a moment. When you look at the night sky, you see darkness punctuated by points of light. But astronomers know that this apparent darkness is actually filled with invisible radiation, dark matter, and energies beyond current detection. The darkness isn't empty. It's pregnant with potentials that haven't yet revealed themselves to limited perception. The Egyptian priests encoded this understanding in the myth of Osiris and Set. But here's what they don't teach you in schools, what modern religion has deliberately obscured. Set's dismemberment of Osiris was not an act of evil. It was a cosmic necessity. Consciousness, represented by Osiris, had to be shattered, scattered, and apparently destroyed so it could be reassembled at a higher octave of existence. Every initiate who entered the Great Pyramid understood they were reenacting this cosmic drama. They symbolically died, experienced complete dissolution of their ordinary identity, and emerged reborn with access to levels of awareness that were impossible before their ordeal. The chamber of initiation was called the Chamber of Death, precisely because transformation requires the complete annihilation of who you think you are. But here's where this ancient wisdom becomes immediately practical for your life. Every trauma, every loss, every moment when your world falls apart is actually a dismemberment, a scattering of your limited identity, so something infinitely greater can emerge from the fragment. You're not being punished. You're being initiated. Let's go deeper into the Hermetic tradition, because what Hermes Trismegistus discovered about the relationship between destruction and creation will transform how you perceive every difficult experience. The Emerald Tablet, the most sacred Hermetic text, contains a phrase that unlocks this mystery. That which is below is like that which is above, and that which is above, and that which is above is like that which is below, to accomplish the miracles of the one thing. This means the same patterns operating in cosmic creation are operating in personal transformation. Just as stars must explode to create heavier elements, just as seeds must rot to sprout, just as caterpillars must dissolve completely to become butterflies, consciousness must encounter its own destruction to transcend its current form. The Hermetic alchemists encoded this understanding in their most sacred formula: solve et coagula, dissolve and coagulate. Before any base metal could be transformed into gold, it had to be completely dissolved, broken down to its essential components. The dissolution wasn't separate from the transformation. It was the first and most crucial stage. Your psychological breakdowns, your dark nights of the soul, Your moments of complete despair are the solve phase of your personal alchemy. They're not signs that something is wrong. They're evidence that something profound is trying to emerge. The old structures of your identity must dissolve before the gold of your authentic self can crystallize. But we need to go deeper still, because what the Gnostic mystery schools discovered about the nature of reality itself will shatter every assumption you have about why suffering exists. The Gnostic texts, hidden in jars beneath the Egyptian desert for nearly 2,000 years, contain perhaps the most radical understanding of evil ever recorded. According to these secret teachings, divine consciousness deliberately chose to fragment itself, to forget its true nature, to experience limitation and suffering for a specific purpose, to know itself in ways that were impossible in the undifferentiated bliss of its original state. The Gnostic figure of Sophia, representing divine wisdom, makes what appears to be a catastrophic mistake. She attempts to create without her divine partner, producing the demiurge, a false god who creates the material world as a prison for consciousness. But here's the twist that changes everything. Sophia's fall was not an error. It was a heroic sacrifice. She chose to enter the realm of illusion and suffering, so consciousness could experience the full spectrum of existence and achieve a level of self-awareness impossible in pure unity. This teaching was so dangerous to religious authority that it was systematically destroyed. Why? Because it reveals that you didn't incarnate into this world by accident. You chose to be here. You selected this realm of apparent separation, limitation, and suffering because only here could you develop the specific qualities of wisdom, compassion, and creative power that require resistance to emerge. Think about your own life. Haven't your greatest periods of growth followed your most difficult experiences? Hasn't your deepest wisdom emerged from your darkest moments? Haven't the qualities you're most proud of been forged in the fire of adversity? This isn't coincidence. This is the hidden curriculum of consciousness itself. Now pause this video for a moment and really consider this question. If you could go back and remove every difficult experience from your life, would you still be the same person? Would you have the same depth, the same strength, the same capacity for empathy? The answer reveals why consciousness deliberately engages with what appears to be evil. Let's go deeper into the Sumerian creation myths, because they reveal something even more startling about the relationship between chaos and order, destruction and creation. In the Enuma Elish, the Babylonian creation epic, we encounter Tiamat, the primordial goddess of chaos and salt water. She appears as a monster, a force of destruction that must be defeated by Marduk, the young god of order. But the mystery schools understood the deeper symbolism. Tiamat wasn't evil. She was the primordial creative matrix from which all possibilities emerge. Her apparent destruction by Marduk was actually a transformation, a reorganization of chaotic potential into structured reality. Here's the mind-blowing part. The entire cosmos was built from Tiamat's body, meaning what we perceive as the ordered universe is actually crystallized chaos. Chaos that has been given form and direction through conscious intention. Without Tiamat's chaotic fertility, no creation would be possible. Without the raw material of apparent destruction, no new worlds could emerge. This reveals something profound about what you call the evil in your life. It's not the opposite of your good. It's your good in its raw, unformed state. It's the prima materia of your evolution, the cosmic clay from which your highest potentials will be sculpted, but only if you learn to recognize its true nature. Every crisis in your life is a visitation from Tiamat, offering you the chaotic raw materials necessary for your next level of evolution. Most people flee from these visitations, but the initiate learns to collaborate with them to extract the creative potential hidden within apparent destruction. If you're starting to see your difficulties in a completely new light, if something deep within you is recognizing the truth in these revelations, take a moment now to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Because what we're exploring together is not just information, it's initiation itself. Your willingness to engage with these ideas is already changing you at levels you may not yet fully comprehend. Let's go deeper into the Tibetan mysteries, because what the ancient Bon tradition discovered about wrathful deities will revolutionize how you perceive the terrifying experiences in your life. In Tibet, long before Buddhism arrived, the Bon masters worked with wrathful deities, fearsome beings with fangs and flames, weapons, and terrible expressions. To the uninitiated, these beings represent everything evil and terrifying. But to the initiate, they are protector deities, guardians of wisdom who use the energy of apparent destruction to burn away illusion and ignorance. In the Tibetan Book of the Dead, consciousness encounters these wrathful deities in the intermediate state between death and rebirth. The untrained soul flees from them in terror, but the prepared initiate recognizes them as emanations of their own enlightened nature, appearing in fierce form to liberate them from the ego's desperate attempts to maintain its illusion of separation. This teaching reveals something revolutionary about the terrifying experiences in your life. The situations that seem to threaten your very existence, the people who trigger your deepest fears, the events that feel like cosmic attacks on your well-being are actually emanations of your own higher wisdom, appearing in wrathful form to free you. Your greatest enemy may be your most important teacher. Your worst nightmare may be your deepest initiation. Your darkest hour may be the moment when your authentic power finally emerges from its hiding place in the depths of your being. Carl Jung, who drew heavily from these mystery school traditions, understood that what we project as evil onto the external world is actually the shadow aspect of our own psyche seeking integration. But Jung went further than most dare to follow. He suggested that befriending your shadow, accepting and transforming your own darkness, wasn't just psychologically healthy, it was the key to becoming a complete human being. Jung studied the alchemical texts obsessively because he recognized they contained a technology for psychological transformation disguised as chemical processes. The nigredo, the black phase of putrefaction and decay, wasn't a failure of the alchemical work. It was its most essential stage. Without the complete breakdown of existing structures, no genuine transformation was possible. This is why every authentic spiritual tradition includes practices deliberately designed to shatter the ego's sense of control and invincibility. Vision quests, dark retreats, meditation intensives that push practitioners to their psychological breaking points, initiation ceremonies that simulate death and rebirth. These weren't sadistic tortures. They were sophisticated technologies for accelerating consciousness beyond its current boundaries. Let's go deeper into the Kabbalistic mysteries, because what the Jewish mystics discovered about the cosmic purpose of evil will transform your understanding of every difficult moment in your existence. The Kabbalah speaks of the Sitra Achra, the other side, often translated as the realm of evil. But to the initiated Kabbalist, the Sitra Achra isn't the opposite of holiness. It's holiness in disguise. divine sparks trapped in shells of apparent darkness. The entire purpose of existence, according to Kabbalistic teaching, is to extract these sparks, to redeem the light hidden within every experience of shadow. The creation story in Kabbalah involves Shevirat HaKalim, the breaking of vessels. The divine light was so intense that the containers meant to hold it shattered, scattering holy sparks throughout creation. This shattering wasn't a cosmic accident. It was the necessary method by which infinite consciousness could know itself through finite experience. Every moment of suffering in your life contains one of these holy sparks waiting to be redeemed through conscious recognition. Your role isn't to eliminate the shells of apparent darkness, but to crack them open and extract the light they contain. This process is called tikkun olam, repairing the world. But the repair happens not through avoiding evil, but through transforming it back into its original luminous nature. Here's where this becomes immediately practical. When you encounter difficulty, instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" start asking what divine spark is hidden within this experience. Instead of trying to escape pain, begin investigating what creative potential might be trapped within its apparent darkness. But we need to go deeper still, because what I'm about to reveal about the true identity of Satan will shatter everything you think you know about the nature of evil itself. The word Satan comes from Hebrew, meaning adversary or challenger. But in the original texts, Satan isn't God's enemy. He's God's employee. In the book of Job, Satan appears before the divine throne, not as a rebel but as a servant, specifically requesting permission to test Job's faith through suffering. The text makes it clear that Satan cannot act without divine authorization, suggesting that opposition to consciousness is actually a function within consciousness itself. This reveals something mind-blowing about the obstacles in your life. The people who challenge you, the situations that force you beyond your comfort zone, the circumstances that seem designed to break you open, are not random impediments to your spiritual progress. They are precisely calibrated initiations, administered by the aspect of your own higher wisdom that knows exactly what you need to evolve beyond your current limitations. Satan, in this understanding, isn't your enemy but your secret collaborator in the cosmic drama of awakening. Every temptation is an opportunity to choose consciousness over unconsciousness. Every adversity is a chance to develop strength you didn't know you possessed. Every apparent evil is a disguised invitation to discover good in forms you never imagined possible. The Sufi masters, who inherited much of this mystery school wisdom, developed a profound practice around this understanding. They would thank their enemies, bless their persecutors, and find ways to appreciate every difficulty that entered their lives, not because they enjoyed suffering, but because they recognized suffering as the most efficient catalyst for the qualities they most wanted to develop. Rumi, the greatest of the Sufi mystics, wrote that you should be grateful for whoever comes into your life, because each person has been sent as a guide from beyond. Your critics teach you humility. Your enemies teach you strength. Your betrayers teach you wisdom. And your losses teach you what cannot be lost. Let's go deeper into the practical applications, because understanding the hidden purpose of evil is only valuable if it transforms how you engage with the challenges in your daily life. The Stoic philosophers, who drew from these mystery traditions, developed specific practices based on this understanding. They deliberately contemplated loss, visualized worst-case scenarios, and mentally rehearsed difficult experiences, not to torture themselves, but to recognize that their essential nature was untouchable by external circumstances. Marcus Aurelius, writing in his private journal, repeatedly reminds himself that obstacles become the path, that impediments to action actually advance action, and that what stands in the way becomes the way. This isn't positive thinking, it's recognition of the actual mechanics of consciousness evolution. But the mystery schools went beyond the Stoics. They developed technologies for actively collaborating with the process of initiation rather than simply enduring it. They learned to recognize the stages of transformation and apply appropriate responses at each phase. During the dissolution phase, when old structures are breaking down, the initiate learned to surrender resistance and allow the process to complete itself. During the purification phase, when the essential was being separated from the non-essential, they learned to support the discrimination between what served their evolution and what hindered it. During the integration phase, they learned to embody their new understanding in practical action. You can apply these same principles to your current challenges. When your life is falling apart, instead of frantically trying to hold everything together, consider whether this dissolution might be clearing space for something better to emerge. When you're being forced to choose between different aspects of your identity, investigate whether this discrimination might be helping you clarify what you truly value. When new insights are dawning, but haven't yet found practical expression, focus on small actions that embody your expanding awareness. Here's a specific practice from the ancient Egyptian mysteries. When facing any difficult situation, pause and ask yourself 3 questions. What is being dissolved in this experience? What is being purified through this challenge? What wants to be integrated as a result of this transformation? These questions completely change your relationship with adversity. They transform you from a victim of circumstances into a conscious participant in your own evolution. They reveal that you have far more power in difficult situations than you realized. Not the power to avoid challenges, but the power to transform through them. Let's go deeper into the ultimate teaching, because what the mystery schools discovered about the true relationship between good and evil will forever change how you perceive the nature of existence itself. At the highest levels of initiation, students discovered that good and evil, light and darkness, order and chaos were not actually opposed forces fighting for dominance. They were complementary aspects of a unified process, like the in-breath and out-breath of cosmic consciousness itself. The Taoist masters illustrated this with their symbol of yin and yang. Notice that the dark area contains a point of light. The light area contains a point of darkness. And the boundary between them isn't a battle line, but a dynamic spiral of mutual creation. Each gives birth to the other in an eternal dance of transformation. This understanding requires what the Greeks called metanoia, literally meaning beyond mind, a complete reorientation of perception that reveals the underlying unity behind apparent opposites. From this perspective, every experience becomes a teacher. Every challenge becomes an initiation. And every moment of darkness becomes an opportunity to discover light in forms you had never imagined. But this isn't abstract philosophy. This is the most practical psychology possible, because it aligns your consciousness with the actual structure of reality rather than fighting against it. When you stop resisting what appears to be evil and start investigating its hidden purpose, you discover that the universe is not chaotic and threatening, but intelligently designed to support your highest evolution. The ancient Egyptian concept of Ma'at illustrates this perfectly. Ma'at wasn't static perfection, but dynamic balance, the continuous harmonizing of opposing forces. The feather of Ma'at, used to weigh the hearts of the dead in the afterlife, represented not the absence of darkness, but the perfect integration of light and shadow. This reveals the ultimate goal of consciousness evolution, not the elimination of evil, but its transformation, not the conquest of darkness, but its integration, not the avoidance of suffering, but its conscious utilization as fuel for awakening. Now, I need you to understand something that will change your perception of every future challenge you encounter. According to these mystery teachings, you didn't incarnate into this realm to have an easy life. You didn't come here to maximize pleasure and minimize pain. You came here specifically because this dimension offers the unique opportunity to encounter resistance, limitation, and apparent evil. Why would divine consciousness choose to enter a realm of suffering? For the same reason that athletes choose challenging workouts, musicians practice difficult pieces, and artists work with resistant materials. Because only through engaging with resistance can consciousness develop capacities that would be impossible in an environment of pure ease and comfort. This is why every great spiritual teacher has emphasized that the path to enlightenment leads directly through what mystics call the Valley of Shadows. They weren't speaking metaphorically. They were describing the actual mechanism by which consciousness transcends its current boundaries and discovers new possibilities for expression and experience. Your greatest traumas contain your greatest potentials. Your deepest wounds hide your most powerful gifts. Your most terrifying shadows conceal your brightest lights. But these treasures can only be accessed by someone willing to descend into the underworld of their own experience and retrieve what has been lost, forgotten, or denied. This is the hero's journey that Joseph Campbell identified in mythologies worldwide. The hero must leave the familiar world, descend into the realm of trials and monsters, face their greatest fears, claim their treasure, and return to transform their community. This isn't just a storytelling pattern. It's the actual structure of consciousness evolution encoded in mythological form. You are the hero of your own mythological journey. Every challenge you face is a monster guarding a treasure. Every fear you confront is a threshold guardian testing your readiness to claim your power. Every descent into darkness is an opportunity to retrieve a lost aspect of your divine nature. If this understanding is awakening something deep within your being, if these words are triggering recognition that goes beyond intellectual comprehension, I want you to write in the comments below, "I choose conscious evolution." Share this video with someone who needs to understand that their struggles have hidden purpose, because this ancient wisdom only comes alive through community and shared recognition. The mystery schools are no longer hidden behind temple walls and secret initiations. The teachings that were once reserved for the chosen few are now available to anyone ready to look beyond surface appearances and recognize the profound intelligence orchestrating every aspect of existence. Your willingness to engage with these ideas, to question everything you thought you knew about good and evil, is itself evidence that you are ready for deeper mysteries. The veil between ancient wisdom and modern consciousness is dissolving, and you are part of the generation that will integrate these teachings into daily life. The hidden purpose of evil is not to destroy, but to create, not to diminish, but to expand, not to end the story of consciousness, but to write its next chapter in forms more beautiful and powerful than anything previously imagined. And you, right now, in this very moment, are both the author and the main character in this eternal tale of transformation. Remember, every shadow contains light waiting to be discovered. Every enemy carries a hidden gift. Every ending conceals a new beginning, and every moment of apparent evil is actually love in a form so advanced. The mystery schools knew this. Now you know it too.